All right, so today we are diving headfirst into a real-life archaeological detective story. It's an incredible tale about a lost university, a super persistent villager, and clues that were left behind by a traveler more than 1,000 years ago.
So let me ask you something. What if a place that was only talked about in ancient texts, a center of learning that could rival the most famous in the world, just disappeared? And for centuries, people are just living their lives, literally right on top of it with absolutely no idea what's buried just a few feet beneath their feet.
For generations, this is all it was. The main mound in the village of Telhara was just a part of the landscape. Useful but totally unremarkable. It's such a stark contrast to the incredible history that was basically sleeping just underneath the surface.
Okay, so our story really kicks off in this village, Telhara, in Bihar, India. It's a quiet, rural place, mostly known for a series of these kind of mysterious mounds. But there was one man who was absolutely convinced they were much, much more than just hills.
To most people, this was just geography. It was a hill. But there were these local historical accounts. And every now and then, someone would find an ancient relic, and it all just hinted that this was not a natural formation. It was like a whisper of a forgotten past.
And this is where a guy named Awadesh Gupta comes in. He is really the hero of this first chapter. Starting way back in 1995, he began this relentless campaign. And you have to imagine the challenge here. He's trying to convince his neighbors and the government to pour money into digging up a hill when the village desperately needs things like roads and water. But he kept at it, and his persistence finally paid off when, in 2007, the wheels were finally officially set in motion.
But see, long before Awadesh Gupta, there were other voices that had pointed to Telhara. And to really understand how, we have to jump back in time and follow this trail of breadcrumbs that was left by pilgrims and explorers centuries ago.
What's so incredible here is just the sheer span of time we're talking about. So in the 7th century, this famous Chinese traveler, Xuanzang, writes about this absolutely spectacular monastery. And then, silence, for more than 1,000 years, until the 1870s when some British officials start to connect the dots. And even then, it still takes another 130 years before the digging actually starts. Just incredible.
And look, Xuanzang wasn't being vague here. He was painting this incredibly detailed, vivid picture of a bustling, architecturally stunning place. He's describing gilded copper sculptures, intricate carvings, the sound of bells chiming in the wind. This wasn't just some building, this was a world-class center of learning.
This contrast right here really gets to the heart of the whole mystery. On one hand, you've got this glorious, detailed account from the 7th century, and on the other, you have the quiet, unassuming little village that the British found in the 19th century. So the question is, how could something so grand become so completely hidden?
So, this brings us to December 2009. After literally centuries of speculation, all the theories were about to be put to the ultimate test. The excavators moved in, and honestly, what they started to find was beyond what anyone could have possibly expected.
Just look at that number, over 1,000 priceless artifacts. And we're not talking about just a few pottery shards. We're talking intricate sculptures, official seals, and statues that have been sealed away in the earth for centuries. That mound wasn't a mound. It was a treasure chest.
And the discoveries, they just kept confirming Xuanzang's account with this incredible accuracy. They found the actual foundations of the 3-storied structure he described. They found a massive prayer hall, big enough for 1,000 monks. And they found this stunning array of artifacts, including a super rare 12-armed statue of Avalokiteshvara, who is this major figure in Buddhism representing compassion, which just goes to show how important this site really was.
But of everything they found, this was the smoking gun. These terracotta seals were the definitive proof. Think of them like an official stamp, an insignia for a major Buddhist university. And finding seals that were identical in style to the ones at Nalanda, the most famous ancient university in the world, well, that confirmed Telhara was in the same league. And that changes everything. It suggests Nalanda wasn't the singular miracle, but it was part of a whole thriving network of elite educational centers.
So now that we know what Telhara was, the discovery started to help archaeologists fill in the gaps about who was there and what its role was in the wider world of medieval India. And the answer, at least partly, lies with this dynasty called the Pittapatis. They were the local rulers who basically acted as custodians for these great Buddhist centers during a really tumultuous time in history. And they weren't just kings, they actually saw themselves as teachers and protectors of this incredible intellectual heritage.
And this really shows you that Telhara wasn't some isolated place out in the middle of nowhere. No, it was part of this huge, complex, interconnected world. You've got Xuanzang, the foreign observer who gave us the first big clue. You've got intellectual giants like Dharmakirti from nearby Nalanda, whose work would have been central to the curriculum. And you've got rulers like Buddhist who supported and protected these places. It was a connected, vibrant world.
But the story doesn't just end in the 13th century. Unearthing all this history has had this profound impact on the village of Telhara today, connecting the present-day community directly to its absolutely incredible past.
I mean, the significance of this find has drawn attention from all over the globe. When you have a Nobel laureate like Amartya Sen visiting the site and writing that it's thrilling, that really underscores that this isn't just some local story. It's a discovery of global importance. It's fundamentally redrawing the map of ancient learning in South Asia.
But for the people of Telhara, this discovery has a really powerful modern-day impact. The excavation itself provided jobs, and it fostered this newfound sense of pride in their home. And now, there's real hope that by connecting with the nearby Nalanda tourist circuit, this ancient history can help them build a new, sustainable future for their village.
The story of Telhara is just this powerful reminder that history isn't just in books. It's literally all around us, buried right under our feet. And it leaves us with this one fascinating question. What other wonders, what other lost worlds are out there just waiting for their own Awadashgupta to come along and champion their rediscovery?